Welcome back to the show. Today, I'm joined by Alicia Cramer. She's a renowned mindset expert, an author, coach, consultant, and serial entrepreneur. Alicia, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, I'm so excited to dive in today. We're going to be talking about mindset today, good listeners. We're going to be talking about some of the things that you're doing that are getting in the way of your success. And I see this all the time in the work that I do. I help people work on their stories. I help people hone in on their frameworks, but I also help people make something bigger. And I think that's often where some of the stumbling blocks start to happen is when people start to take those first tentative steps forward with something where they're stepping out as an entrepreneur, or maybe they're going to have a keynote speech that they're going to give, or they're making a book, or and all these things start to kind of build up some tension and emotion and challenge. And I think that's some of what we're going to be diving into today is those feelings that are conscious and ideally really getting down deeper into that subconscious layer of things that are really obstacles for us as entrepreneurs. So Alicia, starting there, I guess start our conversation, in regard to that.
You mentioned that we are consciously aware of some of our fears. We're consciously aware of some of our self-doubt, some of our insecurities. There is a difference, though, between knowing something intellectually, understanding that we are bumping up against this irrational fear or this sense of imposter syndrome or whatever it is. There is a huge difference between knowing that intellectually and actually being able to shift it. And what we have to remember is there's always going to be some resistance anytime we're stepping into something new and unknown. Now, we're talking to individuals who are either entrepreneurs or entrepreneurial, like you said earlier, and we're actually in the minority. So if you look out there at the big world that we live in, the majority of people are playing it safe, playing small, kind of staying in their status quo, in their comfort zone, so to speak. And you got to ask yourself why. If success is possible for most people, we all have tons of potential, latent usually, right? Undeveloped, unpursued potential to create amazing lives that are unique, that are based on our passions and our interests and the things that just excite us. Yet, such a small percentage of people are willing to take those very uncomfortable steps into the unknown, to put themselves out there on a bigger scale, to put themselves out there to a larger audience, to receive the potential criticism, to make an ass of themselves, if I can say that bluntly. And so here we are, and we are the minority. Now we've got that going for us, and that's great, but we also are human, and we're all wired in a very, very specific sort of way. And that specific way is how we're programmed, how we're conditioned. So if you look at your past, and we all need to do this, right? I was an aspiring entrepreneur. When I was 18, I was so ready. I'm ready. I'm going to tackle this world of being a business owner. I got into multi-level marketing. and
Yep.
and then I recognized how uncomfortable I was even reaching out to family to say, hey, I've got this great product that I really believe in. You should try this supplement too, right? Because of our conditioning, our programming, our beliefs, our self-image. And no matter how many rah things you attend with people pumping you, oh, there's all this potential. You could create your dream life. It's going to be amazing. Just go out there. If you really believe in it, then you're going to do it. And yet and maybe people listening can relate, how many times does that all make so much sense logically, intellectually, rationally, and yet can you do it? The fear will stop us from doing the things that we need to do. So now then you fast forward and here we are today. And like you said, you've got these people, they're, preparing for their first keynote, or maybe they're putting out their first book or whatever it is. And it is unknown to the subconscious mind. But you know what's not unknown to their subconscious mind? Their self-image, which is usually based on their past, not who they're becoming. All the things that they've been told about, putting yourself out there, or public speaking, or being a business owner or whatever, right? And those things become the subconscious obstacles that cause self-sabotage, causes us to retreat at any sign of resistance or potential failure. And those are mechanisms that are built into us to keep us safe. So I'm gonna stop talking.
Yeah, no, you're good. Because I want to let you go for a little bit because that was great, and I think we're going to dive into multiple pieces there. But I like the idea that entrepreneurs are a unique breed. You are a different type of person because you already have taken some risk, or if you're entrepreneurial minded, you're wired to see things differently. You notice things that are incorrect or wrong or need to be fixed, and you have something within you that tries to solve those problems, and you have a heart to solve those problems. And sometimes you're just getting in your own way, or your previous experiences, or whatever else, what other baggage you're carrying is tripping you up, so you're not actually having the impact that you want to, or you haven't taken that leap to go create what it is you're meant to create. And I think as the years continue to go by, I think we're going to see more and more and more people starting businesses. I think there's never been a better time to start a business because there's so much opportunity to help. It used to be there were, many large big brands, and you would just go to the big brand to get what you wanted. But now people don't really interact with a brand. They interact with other people, and they find an influential person that they know, that they like, that they trust, and they kind of latch on to whatever it is that they're doing or whatever it is that they're selling and promoting. And so for you as an entrepreneur, or thinking about starting an entrepreneurial journey, you've probably got some baggage. And maybe that's maybe a good spot to start, Alicia, is like looking into like what are some of the common things that you've seen in working with people around some of their mindset and self-sabotage challenges? What's some of the common baggage, maybe the 2 or 3 top things that tend to show up?
If you follow me at all, you'll frequently hear me using some of the same buzz terms: fears, insecurities, and self-limiting beliefs. Now, those are very broad terms, but here's what it all boils down to. Going back to what I said earlier, we've all been programmed. None of us came out of the womb like geniuses at everything, skilled at everything. And even those who have some natural talent and ability, think of an elite level athlete. They have to still reprogram themselves, condition themselves. They do that by practicing their skill, their craft over and over and over and over and over again, till it becomes so subconscious that even in the face of things that could trigger extreme fear or stress or pressure, they can still do their thing at an elite level. Now, most of us, if we're honest with ourselves, we grew up in average-ish homes, right? Some of us had challenging situations growing up, and all of that stuff is creating programs in our subconscious, beliefs about ourselves. We start to develop very, very self-limiting beliefs about the world out there and our capabilities. Now, What a lot of people don't realize is that from the time that we're born until we're about, it depends on what expert you listen to, but most people will say about 8 years old, we are in hyper learning mode. We have not developed the critical faculty of the mind where we start to say, wait a second, I don't know, that sounds like BS. Right? So even though there is a little bit of that going on, for the most part, we're highly suggestible and we are internalizing everything and we're storing it as conclusions and data in the mind. Oh, this is how that works. This is how this is how people interpret me. This is who I am. This is what I can do. This is what I can't do. And what a lot of people don't think about is, how wise are you at that stage in your life? Right? Or are you a bit emotionally unhinged?
If I
Right?
acted the way that my kids do, yeah,
Yeah.
it would be difficult for me to get
Right.
along sometimes. Yeah.
So what we have to remember is the operating system that is driving us now as the mature, sophisticated adult is based on conclusions that we came to when Jimmy hurt our feelings and we concluded that it's not safe to tell someone how we really truly feel. Or dad used to pick on me about how clumsy I was. Okay. Now I'll share a story with you. A couple of years ago, I was working with a client who is a professional public speaking trainer, professional public speaker, amazing human being, awesome human being, really good at what he does. The reason that he came to work with me was because he kept bumping into this deep-rooted insecurity when he was preparing for his keynotes and his speeches and stuff like that. He would get obsessive about it, obsessive, like, oh, couldn't get out of his head, and it would take way longer than it needed to, and he would have so much anxiety and just unnecessary internal conflict. And what it all stemmed back to was how his dad used to poke fun at him when he was a kid. It was like, you hear about the Chinese water torture, where they just drop, it's just one little drop of water. But that one little drop of water over and over and over and over again will make someone insane. Okay. Now that's an extreme example. I'm not saying he was insane, but it did condition his mind to default. So no matter how great he became at coming up with engaging, inspiring speeches, no matter how much positive feedback he received over and over and over and over again, because he did such an outstanding job, the cycle would not break because it was so deep rooted at the subconscious level. Now that's one example. So what do you do then? You actually have to, it's like, I like to say, it's kind of a bit of a metaphor, right? You got to pull the weed out by the root. Otherwise, it's going to keep growing back. And that's the power of real mindset work. A lot of people, when they think about mindset, they think positive, fluffy,
Right.
motivational
They think like, oh,
quotes.
intellectually, I'm just going to
Yeah,
just change the way I think about this,
exactly.
and that's going to
Yeah,
be fine.
yeah, tell me a different way of thinking about that, right? Just say something to me to get me. And the thing is, and I've been working with clients now for almost 2 decades. The thing is, we can know something and we can believe something, but if we still have those weeds, we're going to continue to be adversely affected by them until we neutralize and replace them.
And I love how it's both neutralize and replace, because when you pull out a weed, another weed could just grow right up if you let it. And it's what you're cultivating. It's what are you gardening in your
Mhm.
subconscious. And that's where you can kind of get into who you're surrounding yourself with, who has influence in your life, who is speaking into you, not just at a head level but at a heart level. You kind of brought up fears, insecurities, and the third one was self-limiting beliefs.
Self-limiting beliefs.
Self-limiting
Yep.
beliefs. So for each of those, obviously they've all got their own nuance to them. And in regards to entrepreneurs, is there one that tends to be a bigger deal for people, or is it really just kind of all over the map? Because you mentioned that one scenario, with kind of like the childhood trauma, and that's very, very individualized.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. We all have our entire backstory, and it is affecting us in some way, shape, or form. Now, the thing is a lot of people will come into doing this deeper level work because they have this one nagging problem that they just, it's like, okay, enough is enough. Enough is enough. I cannot continue on this way. Usually they've had this desire to reach this next level in some area of their business. Maybe it is a financial milestone, maybe it is to scale, whatever it is. There's some desire that they have. Maybe they do. I've had people come to me and they say, I have a TED talk coming up, and I want to make sure my head is in the right place. So I knock this out of the park, right? Everybody comes in with that one specific goal, that one specific desire. Now, if they knew they could crush it, they would not be coming for help, right? Which means they recognize that there's something going on inside of them that's slowing them down, holding them back in some way, shape, or form. It's a problem. Right. So you hear all this stuff about, oh, what keeps your ideal client up at night? Like we've all got the thing that will come up from time to time where it's like, I'm feeling pulled to achieve this next level, whatever that is. Maybe it is writing the new book. Maybe it's setting up your YouTube channel. Maybe it's getting internet famous. Maybe it's whatever, right? Right? It's something, but you've got this desire, this drive, and you can feel that you, on some level, are either afraid of something, you're insecure. For a lot of people, you hear the terminology imposter syndrome, right? So what is imposter syndrome? Well, that's a nice umbrella term for insecure. Okay. For feeling I'm not worthy, I'm not deserving, I'm not good enough, right? And the reality is we all have that. That's natural, that's normal. Goes back to what I was saying before. Every time we up level, those are unknown experiences. That's an unknown way of being that's not known to the subconscious mind. So how I'll answer that question is when a business owner is aware of where they want to be and they're feeling the friction, the resistance, they're seeing themselves procrastinating, they're seeing themselves self-sabotaging. Maybe it is defaulting to addictive behaviors. Maybe they're not getting along with their spouse and it is adversely affecting their ability to stay focused on achieving their goal. Those are the things that will hold us back from successfully achieving that next level. And it can take a lot of different forms, but if you're self-honest, you'll be able to identify, right? I know this is possible. I know this is where I want to be. I'm not there. And I can feel that there's something going on within me, mentally or emotionally, that's keeping me from getting there more efficiently.
Ooh, I love that. And you brought up a couple that really resonated. And I want to key in on one, self-sabotage. And I look at my own life, and I'm a person that is prone to addictive behavior, prone to procrastination, prone to putting stuff off and not engaging in the way that I need to. I tend to be more intellectually focused than heart focused. And so it's easy for me to ignore what's going on in my heart and try and solve it elsewhere. And so for me, I know I've got that kind of addictive, self-sabotaging kind of past. And I'm kind of curious for those that are maybe in that same boat. Maybe they've started to pick up on their patterns, right? They maybe notice alcohol is a challenge for them, or they maybe notice that food or TV shows or video games or shopping or whatever, right? They've noticed that they've got these behaviors that they just start leaning into in these times of stress and anxiety, that actually end up undermining them, that actually end up getting in the way of their success and blocking that, right? So for shopping as an example, right now I don't have the money to go to the seminar that I needed to go to, or with alcohol, right? Like I didn't wake up on Saturday to do the thing that I wanted to do for my business. Slept in too late. So for those that are self-sabotaging, I mean, what's something that they can do?
This is so common. So that's what I want to say first and foremost. When we have these types of challenges, we have a lot of secret shame. And that will oftentimes keep people from getting the help. So one of my messages, and I do this on my own podcast, it's really about, okay, listen, friends, you're human. Your mind works a certain way. That is what caused you to create this problem that you're so embarrassed and ashamed about. Let's take some of the taboo out of it. Okay. No one, and I've worked with some very high level, very, very successful people who appear to have it all together to the whole world, right? And they are able to come into my space where I can hold the space in a non-judgmental way and I can help them work through those things. This is a part of being human. No one is exempt from wacky crap going on in their mind. I've seen people with secret addictions, cheating on their spouse, traumatic fear, financial fear, like you name it. Very few things I haven't seen, although I will say every once in a while, I'm surprised, like, hey, there's a new one. All right. But you know why I can be non-judgmental? Because I understand how it happens. It's not because you're a bad person. It's not because you don't have the potential. It's not because God doesn't like you, right? People get such weird stuff in their head, right? Those are our superstitious beliefs. But the truth is, you are capable, you are worthy, you are deserving, you can do it, and we'll get you to do it. We just have to get in there and we have to start to clean up some of the old associations, some of the old self-image stuff. We have to break some habits and create some new habits. And I know we're not going to get too deep into this, but there are a lot of different modalities that we use to get to that desired outcome, to replace the bad habit, to resolve the issues with self-sabotage, overcoming addictions and all of that stuff. So I'm trained in a lot of different modalities. By trade, I'm a certified hypnotherapist. I know that makes some people uncomfortable. I promise you it is not mind control and it is not from the devil. Okay. And early on in my private practice, when I was a general hypnotherapist, I had a pastor. I work with every denomination, right? I have Jewish clients, Christian clients. I have spiritual, non-denominational people. Like, what we're working with here is just understanding how the subconscious mind works. That's it, right? I don't have any magic ability to brainwash or mind control anybody. I also do a lot of NLP, trained in a variety of different coaching modalities. We do some different forms of energy processes that help to release stuck emotions and things like that. And it's really about, it's like going to a surgeon, right? You want to go to someone who knows what the hell they're doing. And there's a lot of mindset coaches out there. I would not go to most of them. And you just have to be aware, right? Like, what's the goal? What's your comfort zone, right? I was a newbie once, right? And I charged accordingly and I let it be known, okay, I'm in my clinical hours here. But the way that we want to look at this is when you work with someone like myself or many other amazing people out there, right? You just got to be comfortable enough to start to open up, because the the things that you're hiding, you can't shift them. You can't do the work to change it. And there's actually so many different processes that can get, similar types of results. It's just a matter of finding the ones that resonate with you. And so what I'll say here is, to anyone who is going through that, I promise you there is a solution. I am a former alcoholic. I struggled with that from my early teens into my mid 20s, and was able to completely heal myself of that. Early on in life, I was a smoker, healed that too. I had self-confidence issues, like huge self-confidence issues, depression, like all kinds of stuff. I was like the poster child for the person who needed to be fixed. And I swear, if I can do it, and I know it sounds cliche, but it is so true, and I've seen it with my clients as well. Some things do need a little bit more oomph, right, to get on the other side of them. But if you have a desire in your heart to make a change, it is possible. It is so possible.
Yeah, I love that. And I love hearing about that you've had your own battles. And I feel like so often when we have a struggle, people want to hide it. They want to like secret that away, right? And like you talk about, it's kind of where a lot of our shame comes from. Is we feel like we're alone, or we're bad, or we're defective, we're broken, and the world will not accept us if they know that. And they is a very broad term, right? And so people hide, and they keep those things to themselves. And I found the more that I can share, the more that I can be open about my personal challenges, about my family dynamics, about my other shortcomings. Number one, the less scary they are in themselves, the more accepted I am by those around me, the more highly regarded I am by those around me. People start using words like brave or inspirational, or, and like, I'm not there for that, but like, it's like, oh, okay, to somebody else, that seems like a huge step. And that's always helpful to remind myself of, is like, to me, this has now become the normal, but it's not normal for everybody. So for those that are maybe starting their journey, or are starting to want to unpack some of these things, what is a typical first step in this journey? How does someone actually pull something up by the roots, and then replant something better?
Everyone's journey is going to be different, right? Everyone listening, you've got a product, you got a service, you got a thing that is your thing. And you know that for some people, they're a DIYer, right? And a lot of my inner work I did in that fashion. You can learn different modalities. You go on YouTube and you find someone who does different emotional releasing processes. EFT is one that I'm trained in. Incredible. That's short for emotional freedom techniques, also referred to as tapping, became sort of a phenomenon for a while. Different release processes, breath work. These are tools that you can learn, which can help you get started. They'll help you sort of work through some of that stuff that you're consciously aware of. So it can begin that healing, uprooting, resetting process. Of course, the next level is the find someone you trust, who you feel comfortable with, and lean in for support. Get help. Let someone help you. I like to say that a lot of our problems are hiding in plain sight. They're literally, the evidence is all around us, and we are conveniently not noticing it. And that's the way the subconscious mind works. Your subconscious mind is programmed. It says, this is my protection mechanism. You are not going to take that away from me. No matter how irrational, nonsensical it is, no matter how much it's messing up your life, right? Your mind says, that alcohol gives me a sense of comfort. Well, it's not really, if you're honest with yourself, if it's destroying your relationship, if it's destroying your success, if it's destroying your health, it's not. But if your subconscious mind is convinced that you need that to cope, then guess what? Not going to be showing you why it's holding on to that so that you can actually heal and release it. And that's the value of sometimes having that expert outside perspective who can hold that space for you to say, okay, let's go into that. Let's not play games. Let's not BS yourself here. If you really truly want to heal, we're going to get there. But the subconscious mind will play all sorts of games. So sometimes we do need that expert to help us. And those really are where I would say most people would probably be starting the journey, is just dabble, right? Dabble, learn a few things on your own, do some, do a meditation retreat, whatever your comfort level is to start that healing journey. Or if you're just like, you know what? No, I don't want to play small anymore. That's not my potential. That's not what I'm doing this for. I love to work with A-level people. I have a program, I call it Winner's Circle. And that's because the people who I love working with are the entrepreneur who is not playing small, the business owner who is not going to let the bullshit hold them back anymore. They've got big dreams, big goals. They're a visionary. They know they've got the potential. They know they've got some work to do to get there. They're willing to do the work inside and out. And when you're that level of person, when you have that level of conviction, it's pretty damn hard to stop you from achieving your goals.
Mhm. I love that. And people that are listening, you'll have seen this in certain people. And unfortunately, it's more rare than we'd like it to be. But this is that person that you come across. They're excited, they're passionate, and they've got a fire in them. And they're doing something. They're doing something important. They're doing something that matters. And they tell you about it. And even if you've never had an interest in that thing, all of a sudden you kind of a little bit do. You're like, oh man, I've never really cared about, insurance, or I've never really cared about car sales, but like, man, that's really cool that you like are that excited about, like, you're that turned on and fired up and ready to crush. And it's magnetic and it draws people towards them. And just like you said, just bringing those types of people together is a beautiful environment to be in, because they actually one up each other, but they elevate each other, right? They build each other up and they all go together. And then you mentioned kind of the two ways that a lot of people seek help is DIY and DFY, right? Do it yourself and then done for you or done with you. And I often have fallen into that do it yourself. I'm not going to call it trap, but kind of do it yourself mindset, we'll say, where it's like, well, I'm going to figure it out. I'm self sufficient. I'm going to go read a book on it and become the expert and this, that. And I've learned a ton doing that. And so that's maybe a weakness of mine is I love learning. And so that's a fascination that I have. But at the same time, it has slowed me down. It has made things take longer because where you or I, as an expert in our fields, we could look at something and relatively quickly diagnose what's going on and get to the root of it. But if you're not the expert and you're kind of fumbling around in the dark trying to figure it out, it's going to take you longer. You're going to have more heartache. You might end up spending more money on it. Like, there's all these other side effects you need to consider as you're going the DIY route. But often the DIY route feeds into the done with you route, because you get to the spot where you're educated enough, you understand enough, and you see more of your shortcomings enough that you say, okay, I've got a better idea how much iceberg there is below the surface here, and now I know that I need someone to help me with what's going on down there. So I guess for those that are getting started on their journey, is there any type, I mean, obviously following you on social media is probably a good start. So what's the best way to connect with you or best way to find you?
So the best way is to go to my main website, which is aliciacramer.com. There's going to be links to all my social media. accounts, so you can connect with me on any of your social media of choice. Everybody's got their favorite. My YouTube channel has a ton of free content. There's a link to that on the website as well. There's links to learn more about working with me privately, as well as some of my group programs, including Winner Circle, which I mentioned. All of that is going to be available at aliciacramer.com.
Love that. Super simple. If you were to maybe sum up our conversation, share a last story, or go into something maybe that we didn't get a chance to cover today, what would you want to leave the audience with?
I really just want to hammer in the point for whoever needs to hear this. If you have a desire in your heart, I promise you the potential is in you to do it. You have to commit, though. There are too many people who have these beautiful dreams and they have one foot in and one foot out. And just like anything, imagine you can't marry someone with one foot in, one foot out. It's like, it's either you do or you don't do, period. There are too many people running their business one foot in, one foot out. I've got this dream. I'm going to be this thought leader. I'm going to be this visionary entrepreneur. I want to change the world. And they do a little bit. That's within their comfort zone. But really, they're not self-honest enough to recognize I've got one foot in and one foot out. I just keep that one foot out because it feels safer. And that's why you're not achieving your goal, period.
Alicia, super powerful. For those listening, maybe rewind that last minute or two and listen to that again one more time. Alicia, thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure.